Don't jump scare. Okay.
I want to sing a song just for you. 'Cause you're my special friend.
After 4 games, I don't know what to tell you. You know there's just gonna be jump scares. If there's something else than that, then maybe I'll be scared, but it's like, if you know what to expect, then 4 times, then it's kind of like over.
How's it going? Welcome back to another great video with your boy, the Savior. Oh yes, it's that time again to get spooky. It's a sad state of affairs that I can't show you this lovely woman here making her strawberry jam, but it's not allowed on YouTube. I will do my utmost to give you accurate and reliable information in this The Outlast Trials review. And you can trust me, guys, because I'm not dead yet. I'm not a ghost. And do you know why ghosts can never be good at lying? Do you know why? It's because we can easily see through them. I'm dead inside. Yes, I think it's time for me to jump out of my window. If you don't know how I do my early reviews, I give you the positives and the negatives, and I don't give you a justified, objective score at the end of the video because we are all different, we all have our own preferences, and I trust you enough that you can formulate your own opinions judging based on the positives and the negatives that I give you, because I don't think my audience is that brain dead, unlike a lot of other channels who seem to think that their magical review scores are the defining truth of what makes a game good or not. And at some point in the video, I will also discuss what I think should have been added to make this a better game to help future developers and stuff like that. It works and it doesn't work, and I think this is going to be a massive YouTuber hit when it comes to, you know, commentary videos, gaming commentary videos, for big gaming channels. I think the YouTube community is going to make this game very popular, just like they did with the first original Outlast. It wasn't much of a popular game until all of these massive channels like PewDiePie, these OG gaming channels started to play it, and then it kind of blew up. Outlast games don't rely too much on psychological horror like, I would say, Amnesia. Outlast has always kind of relied itself on jump scares and kind of gore horror, you know, something that's absolutely grotesque and just disturbing. But in the previous games, it succeeded because it had a tight, interesting enough for a horror game narrative experience, a linear experience. But the Outlast Trials changes things up quite massively, and I want to make this clear. Yes, you can play this single player, so you don't have to play this in co-op mode, and basically it won't change the game that much. It just basically adds more objectives when you're playing in co-op. It will be the same type of objectives that you have to complete, but there's just going to be more to do because you're playing with a bigger team, and you will miss out on certain level design aspects like helping your co-op companion climb over a gate or get access to different parts of the level that they wouldn't have otherwise if you were playing in single player mode without going, just like we've seen from other games like Resident Evil or Fallout. Great single player games, but when they focus on the multiplayer aspect, it takes away a lot of the creativity and the focus from the original product, and I think a little bit is lost thanks to focusing on a multiplayer experience. So the Outlast Trials is set in the Cold War era, and basically you are a prisoner, and it's very different from a traditional linear story-based game where you go through, you know, set level design. To earn your freedom in this twisted prison, basically you actually have to complete tasks and objectives in order to escape. You are basically being tested, and a lot of people have compared this to Squid Game, but I think it's a little bit more in line with the Saw movie franchise, in which, you know, you're held captive by some crazy ass corporation and disturbing people. And I would highly recommend, if you are playing co-op, then you do it with a group of friends, because the communication that you have on hand with just randoms isn't that good. You know, it's the basic emote system and you can't get that much across, and communication is key. And I think the whole point is, getting scared together. The horror element gameplay is easily lost when you're playing in a group because it's usually just funny because you're messing around with your friends, and it's a lot less easier to get scared. If you're talking with your friends, it loses the atmosphere and the ambience, and I think that's why it never truly works in a multiplayer game, but it's still enjoyable, don't get me wrong, but I just think, the true design philosophy of a horror game is isolation, and I think that just gets lost in a multiplayer sense. But you can still have a good time. If you want the true original horror experience, maybe play it single player first, and then go back and play it multiplayer, then you get even more replayability out of it. But the co-op elements do add a lot of fun to the game. Just make sure you are playing with your friends, if you have any. If you're like me and you cry yourself to sleep every night, stroking your little teddy bear, then yeah, just play it yourself, okay? Yeah, nice. Some negatives I will say about the Outlast Trials is its use of jump scares can sometimes feel very predictable, like sometimes you know where the enemies are gonna pop out. Also, the music tension kind of gives it away, sometimes the kind of horror cue, but not always. But sometimes they are a bit predictable, but they still get you most of the time. The use of, easily depleted night vision. Before, you had to gather up batteries for your camera, but now in order to see in the dark, you will need to use your night vision. And for some reason in this world, batteries are just complete shit, and they just completely crap out after a couple of minutes, so it's very annoying, and it just relies on the standard horror trope a little bit too much if you ask me. And the use of just hiding in the dark, it's the typical horror game. They haven't added anything to make it, a big leap forward, which is a shame. They could have made the AI a little bit more dynamic. They could have added more to the horror gameplay, like holding your breath when an enemy is close by, stuff like that. Small little details that can make it a little bit more tense, and that just adds to the formula, because at this point, we haven't seen anything that special. Horror games haven't had a massive leap forwards compared to other gaming genres, like open world games or FPS. Pretty much horror games have remained the same for a very long time, so I like to see new mechanics added. Hopefully we will get something new with the new Amnesia game. This game has driven me slowly insane, and I am suffering from a mild case of psychosis, which is another thing that you get in this game, which is very annoying. I was talking about interesting mechanics they could have added, but they just had to choose, just a bullshit meter. They had to add this mechanic because they needed something, but sadly this doesn't add anything to the gameplay. In fact, all it does really is make you waste time looking for inhalers to basically go back to normality. And basically when you do get hit with psychosis, you will get a filter on screen, which just makes it super difficult to navigate and control your character. That isn't fun gameplay. Basically, how you get psychosis is you will get, hit with a type of gas, and your meter will slowly fill up over time, unless if you basically can find medicine to combat it, but it's not a very engaging feature if you ask me. Now, the Outlast Trials is only coming out on PC so far, but hopefully it will get ported over to the consoles at some point, and that's good because they do need to work on a few bugs. It's nothing groundbreaking at the moment. Just a few technical glitches, nothing with the missions being broken or anything like that, just animations when it comes to the multiplayer, and the AI could use some work and stuff like that. I do truly hope you are enjoying the Outlast Trials game review, my review of the Outlast Trials, because I do feel that this could be a unique video game, and it is a unique video game when it comes to horror and multiplayer, because we don't get to see that type of stuff often. It's just a shame that they are kind of limited in their creative thinking, because they could have just done a little bit more to make this unique, but it is basically the same old Outlast games that we've tried before, but now with multiplayer. And I do think that some of it, the pacing is a little bit off, which I'm going to get into, but I do hope that you do subscribe to the channel if you are new here, which is highly likely. It truly does mean the world to me. You have no idea. I try a lot with my content. I put a lot of effort into it, and it simply takes 2 seconds to click the button to subscribe. So if you haven't done that already, I would appreciate it a lot if you just go down below and subscribe now. Join the Savior Empire today if you like gaming videos, game reviews, retrospectives, video essays, philosophical content, all kinds of stuff on this channel. High gamer intellectuals we are, so make sure you do join the channel and subscribe. So you might be asking, what kind of objectives will you be doing? Well, sadly, this is where it kind of falls short, and this is where I would like to see some interesting creativity with the game, but sadly we don't get much of it here. It will be most of the time you will be fixing something most of the time you will be collecting something that needs to be put together later on in a different room, you know, a bunch of switches that you need to turn on, a bunch of generators that you need to fix, some batteries that you need to find. It's a lot of fetch questing, and usually at the end of it there is something, you know, kind of unique. For example, the traditional escort mission where you have to protect something and take it with you throughout the level, but there will be technical difficulties throughout this objective, and you will have to find ways to open doors so you can carry on your merry way. Stuff like that we've seen done, you know, so many times in other multiplayer games. So if you are playing in single player, this will feel a little bit weird, a little bit just kind of, you know, slapped together. So I would have liked to see more interesting, like I said, Squid Game kind of twisted game show elements in the game itself. For example, it would be interesting if there was some kind of dilemma where you would have to sacrifice one of your friends in order for you guys to escape, and this would actually punish your player progression. You know, this would cause some interesting decisions, or perhaps just to add some tension, you know, there would be a bomb strapped to your head and you would have to complete a series of complicated puzzles before it goes off. Something just to add a little bit more tension. There are some unique mission designs in there. I'm not saying that they don't exist, but I can't say exactly what they are without, you know, going into spoiler territory. But most of it is fetch quests and fixing stuff, opening doors, stuff like that. One thing that I do like about this game is the fact that they have given you a whole bunch of tools in which you can defend yourself. Now, you can't actually use weapons in this, which is great, because if you could, it would take away from the horror aesthetic design of Outlast. But now there are many ways to defend yourself. The limited inventory space also adds tension to the survival type gameplay, and you will have to think about what you can bring with you and in what order to do stuff, so that does add to it. And like I said, there are new ways to defend yourself, because now when you start the game, you basically get to choose from a whole host of different skills, or shall I say rigs. Basically, you can choose these at the beginning when you're creating your character, because yes, you do actually get to create your character in this game, which is pretty cool, and it does add some customization to it, especially in a multiplayer horror game. This is needed. But basically, you can choose from different rigs, like the stun rig, the blind rig, the X-ray rig, or the healing rig. Each rig, of course, offers different types of playstyles. I do feel like some of them are a little bit just, you know, cheap and lazy and classic modern day gaming for you. For example, the X-ray one, because we can't have gamers that actually have tension anymore. We can't actually have them use their brains. We've got to see exactly what's behind every corner. And the other thing that they've added is kind of a hub area similar to Dark Souls, believe it or not, which is quite funny. And that's, you know, obviously for multiplayer reasons, but it is quite nice to have a safe area in which you can kind of relax. But this is also good. This is basically where the story element comes in for this type of game, because this is where you get to interact with characters. The environment is what tells a great story here, you know. The design, the level design is what's still very strong in this game, and it does feel very claustrophobic. It is very disturbing, so this will scare you, especially if you're a complete little crybaby like myself and you find any type of horror game terrifying. Then I think you will enjoy this. But just beware of the negatives. If you are not a multiplayer fan, I would not say this is worth it to play in single player alone. And yeah, that is the Outlast Trials review. I do hope you enjoyed the video. I tried to give you my honest takes. I think the Outlast Trials reviews are going to be rather mixed, and I tried to give you my honest take on this game. So don't expect something revolutionary, but this is, you know, just another good time if you do like this type of experience. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. Peace out.